let's talk about a team that is almost opposite to Arsenal. Chelsea don't look like a team that's doing well. Let's have a look at their record this season. It hasn't really looked good under Harry Potter. They've won 8, they've drawn 5 and lost 7. They've scored 22 goals and conceded 21. Now, this is interesting.
So unlike Chelsea.
Look at the XG numbers. Now, they were expected to score 23.8, let's say 24 goals this season. They are almost there, 22. You know, they will outperform their XG. It looks like it.
I don't think so.
This
is we'll get into that about why that might be happening.
But they are, if you look at the XG, expected goals against, they are almost there. So they are not doing well on the scoring front.
If anything, is their XG against is rather what's saving them.
It
looks like
it.
They are below
Kepa, and a lot of that I think has come from Kepa per their starts.
Yeah.
Kepa has been in great form when he has played. 7
clean sheets, top scorer Kai Havertz on 5, and that explains if you are scoring 22 goals, really not a lot is going on. So what is wrong with Chelsea?
That's the first thing. If you look at their top scorer with 5, I think the worst team in the league with the lowest, as in their top scorers only lowest. You look at teams like Everton and Wolves, where their top scorers like 3, 4. Yeah. So your top scorer having 5 alone is a red flag in the sense that a top team, their top scorer should be at least 10. Where Arsenal is 10, 8. But you see, Arsenal have a bunch of players on 8, 7, 6.
They share the goals among the front four.
So Odegaard being on 8 in itself, if you were to compare to other top teams, it doesn't look great. But the fact is, the goals have been shared. Exactly. So Odegaard is on 8. I believe Saka is like on 7 or 8. 7.
Martinelli is
like 6 or 6. So
Edin Ketia has his numbers.
Edin Ketia has some. Gabriel Jesus has. So they have
even Shaka.
Even Shaka has
3 or 4 goals.
Exactly. But
too bad he didn't add onto his. I was expecting the customary Shaka goal against Man United. It didn't happen.
But you look at Chelsea for example. Kai Havertz has 5, and it's not like a lot of other players around him have. You see, someone has 1, someone has 2. The goals are just not flowing, and that's the main problem, and that's their biggest problem. When they create, they're not even taking their chances. You can see that from the XG numbers. So all the hard work Kepa is doing at the back, and you compare it to a team like Man U, for example, where we are seeing De Gea making a lot of good saves. But it's reflecting the fact that someone like Marcus Rashford has taken his game up and is scoring goals. So that's the problem. I think the turmoil with the injuries and the change of the manager. I think if you're a new manager coming in, the last thing you need is an injury crisis. Because you're trying to
plus no preseason.
So you're trying to implement your ideas with players who ideally won't be playing, might not be suited to you. So if we look at the transfers right now, let's assume that the January window transfers, who are João Felix, Mikhailo Mudryk, and Benoit Badiashile. Those are the Graham Potter signings. So we expect to see them in the team going for it. Valid. But what about the players who were signed before? Were they signed for Thomas Tuchel? Who were they signed for?
Exactly.
And he's come out to even say Cucurella, who he coached before, has family issues, so he's not really sure where his head is and stuff. It just sounds like there's a lot of chaos around the team. And it's been making his job very difficult. And I feel like Chelsea fans have been unfair on him. I know you have high standards. I get it. I get completely. We know what Chelsea's about, winning trophies. We don't care. Look, Chelsea can bring the physio. The physio will win at least an FA Cup or something. We've seen how they operate. But if you are trying to build something long-term, like Todd Bowley says, you are going to have to accept that maybe this season might not go that well. And you might have to write this season off. I think, and that's probably why you can see them buying all these players. Because they're looking like, look, if we're not in the Champions League next season, we might not get our targets. Let's pay this money right now, get everyone in, and start building from there. So he definitely needs time. There's a lot of turmoil, but things are not looking good aside that. Because you can say that, okay, fair enough, he's starting, but we are not also seeing, we can't see the clear identity. We can't really see a team that's playing well enough for us to say, okay, there's some, they look very flat a lot of the time. So it's difficult to see what Graham Potter is trying to do. Then look at Brighton, who is just left, where De Zerbi is in the same situation. Don't get me wrong, De Zerbi had a bad start. They lost their first 5 games.
He was winless in, I think, the first 6 or
6 games. But we are seeing the results now. So it looks even more stark when the team you left seems to be prospering and the team you've come to supposedly save is struggling. So it doesn't look good for Graham Potter. And the truth is, he might not last. He might not be there next season if they don't make the Champions League. They've said it categorically. I think that is harsh, but it's fair. Harsh but fair, because the standards at Chelsea are high. That's the thing. You knew that they were high standards. I would think it's harsh. I would prefer, because we saw him at Brighton. It took some time for the project to really get going. So I think he also deserves that time here if you are really serious about the long-term thing. But at the same time, if you are Chelsea, do you really want to finish 8th Because Arsenal did that, and I'll say it here. I criticize Arsenal for holding on to Arteta as long as they did, because I felt that he didn't meet the targets when he should have met them. I felt that the first season he finished 8th, had half a season, won the FA Cup, fine. You come back, you finish 8th again, you don't win any trophy. I felt you had downgraded, so I was thinking that they probably should have sacked him then.
Okay.
They gave him another season. He wasn't able to qualify for the Champions League, finished 5th. I thought maybe they should have sacked him again. They backed him, and here they are. So sometimes giving a manager time does work, but I can also understand if Chelsea decides to cut their losses, because I felt the same way about Arteta now, even though he's prospering, that he's lucky to be in a job as we speak, but he's showing why he should be in the job.
Interesting. Emmanuel, just final thoughts on this. Susu talks about it being harsh but fair should Chelsea get rid of Graham Potter. How much time do you think he has? If you were in charge, okay, maybe let me phrase it this way. Would you give him until the end of the season if you were calling shots at Chelsea?
I doubt Chelsea will go with that mantra. They'll probably sack him when mathematically it's impossible for him to make top 4.
Okay. So
if it was Abramovich, I would have said he would have been sacked before the January transfer window ended. But this Todd Bowley, a man in love with the stats and all that, and all that. So it's a bit difficult to say. But then also, football is about the fans, and when that pressure starts mounting from the fans, sometimes it's not the owner's will, but then he has to do what makes the fans happy. So for me, I would think realistically, if they can't make top 4, he might probably get the chop.
So like what, a few more weeks?
So Chelsea has played, I think, 19 or 18
about halfway
games.
through.
So around about 25. If he's not,
you want to give it
if he's nowhere near top 4, if he's not. Well, let's say 2 or 3 games away.
The form hasn't changed. But aren't there factors going in his favour? Injuries, for example.
Everybody has injuries. I mean, we would get to Liverpool, I'm sure. But that's no excuse. Even with the injuries and everything, I think this team has enough experienced campaigners, enough players with good enough quality to be at least in and around the top 4 conversation. But if you're lying 10th, that's very bad.
You just don't think it's good enough.
That's very, very bad.
So you would give him up until match week 25, a few months, about a month, another month.
Yeah, about another month. If realistically they are further away.
But isn't a month too short to make that determination?
A month gives you about 4 or 5 games. That should be enough. That should be enough. It's Chelsea we are talking about.
The point I'm making is that teams could go on a good run.
He's been in post since early September, late September.
Yeah, probably second, third Champions League game. So
yeah, so it's been a long enough period. He had a World Cup break, so let's discount that. So let's remove a month. So let's say September,
November,
October,
and then January.
We'll count November and December as 1 month.
Okay, fine.
Because there were games in the month. So 3 months. So this is his fourth month.
Yeah.
So if we are not seeing a clear identity, a clear style, we can't see where the team is going. I understand where Nubo is coming from, because I think even without a preseason, 3-4 months, we should be seeing something.
If you can go 10 games on the trot in all competitions and lose 7, that's bad.
I understand. The point I'm making is this. A few players have come in January, and you say you want to give him another month, 6 weeks tops. I'm saying that teams can turn things around and go on a magical run. I feel that it's a little too early to probably think that he should get the sack in about a month. Maybe let's give it as to March.
That's why I said I believe he should have the rest of the season. That's my thing.
It's okay.
But
regardless of how it's going to end.
So you write the season off.
Yeah.
The season's a write-off.
If you are trying to build a project and you claim you are serious about a project,
then you might as well not sack him then.
You have to trust them.
Yes, so that's the point he's making. That keep him until the end of the season.
Then don't sack him. Let him start afresh.
We'll give him another start.
Yeah, so that he starts his project from ground zero, because he will say he didn't have a preseason. You brought in a lot of players.
That's what I'm saying, that they'll give him the season. We'll see how he finishes. He has a full preseason. If by January we are still.
So you mean next January?
Yeah. So I would, in my thinking, if you are very serious about a long-term project, you can see him as the manager for the next decade. As per your thinking. No, you guys, if you can see.
But of course, the ownership was different.
If you can see per your thinking that the next decade, Graham Potter is going to be a manager, going to build a culture around the club, I would give him another year, if that's the thinking. But I believe that truly, if they can't get into Europe, I believe the Champions League will be difficult. But if they can't get into any European competition by the end of the season, I won't be surprised.
So that would mean Chelsea finishing outside the top 7.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that would be very bad.
That would be disastrous.
But look at the way Brighton and Brentford and those other guys,
those guys,
they are going to make it difficult. So.
I see. All right.